Hello, David.
Hello, Ian.
Hi, what would you like to say?
I've been trying to get my fixed costs down to as low as possible. I'm on universal credit at the moment, so I'm trying to get every penny to stretch as far as it can. Now, council tax, I can't reduce any further. TV licence, you can't. The water is on the minimum amount. The home insurance, I've got to get a bus to and from the job centre to sign on. So that's a cost to take into consideration as well. Broadband and gas and electric, I can't get them down any further than they are at the moment. Now, the total monthly cost for those comes to £335.29. Okay. Universal credit is £334.91. So I'm 38 pence short per month at the moment. And that doesn't include any money for food. And I've got 2 kids who live with me for nearly half the time. So I'm wondering, how can people possibly survive on universal credit?
So how are you coping?
Well, at the moment, I'm putting it on the credit card.
Which inevitably you can only do for a certain amount of time because you'll reach the limit.
Exactly that.
And what then?
Good question.
How far are you away from having to really think about that point?
I'm already at that point. Obviously, I don't want to go into...
No, I'm not. I don't want you to go... No,
yeah.
Absolutely not. But, I mean, it's... I'm trying... I mean, I have been in a situation where I've maxed all my credit cards out and wondered how I'm going to sort of recover from it. But I didn't have 2 kids to worry about. I didn't have other mouths to feed, and this was quite a long time ago. But I mean, sometimes people say, well, some people would rely on savings. Well, clearly that's not an option, I imagine.
I did have savings, but all that's gone.
Yeah.
It's just the hope that something will crop up before it gets to that stage. But at the moment, universal credit it covers nearly the bills on the minimum amount.
Yeah.
But there's no money left for food or clothes or anything like that.
No, you're working?
No. And that's why I'm hoping that something will turn up.
Because obviously there are lots of vacancies out there. This is something I've never quite understood when we're told that job vacancies are at record levels, and yet it still seems to be quite difficult to find a job for many people.
Well, with that I would say I can't afford a car, so that limits what jobs I can do. And I live in a village.
Yeah.
So I'm reliant upon public transport, of which it isn't great, and to do things like school runs as well. So any job I do will have to work around those things.
And you can't take Norman Tebbett's advice and get on your bike and look for work because you've got your kids and they go to the local school, presumably.
Yep, and I can't afford a bike.
Yeah. I mean, it's a vicious circle, isn't it?
It is. I wouldn't have believed it unless I was going through it, what it's really like. I mean, fortunately, the kids get free school meals. Like I say, I'm just keeping costs as low as I possibly can. But there are fixed costs which you can't reduce.
See, I've got a text here which is very cruel, I think, and it says, I've got no sympathy. He needs to get a job. It's pathetic. I mean, people are so judgmental in these situations, aren't they? I mean, you've explained extremely well your situation, and I'm sitting here desperately trying to come up with an idea that you might not have thought of, and I haven't, and I feel awful about that in some ways, because you're clearly you're not somebody who's trying to sort of milk the benefit system. You are somebody that the welfare state was designed to help. Somebody who, through no fault of their own, is in that situation, and it's quite difficult to sort of think, well, how do you get yourself out of it in the short term? Because if it goes further than the short term, it's not going to get any better.
No. And that's why I just got to keep trying as hard as I possibly can to get some work.
I mean,
but in the meantime,
you see, the trouble is if you get part-time work, maybe there is some part-time work available locally. That will affect your universal credit entitlement, won't it?
Yeah, I think something. This is off the top of my head, so it might not be accurate. Sorry, but it's around 55 pence, I think, in the pound that you lose, that you earn, something like that. And I do go. The local businesses, they know me really well. I keep going round, knocking on the doors, as it were, in the old-fashioned way. Because emails and phone calls can just disappear with no response. So I do actually get off my backside and go and knock on doors and try to get some work. And it's very difficult.
Does it affect your mental health?
I worry about the kids. I'm okay. I want a good life for them. One of the things actually that would help. I haven't passed my driving test, and you can get training for various things, but you can't get training to drive, and that's one of the biggest drawbacks, especially with people in rural communities.
Well, David,
so sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I really do wish you all the best because.
Yeah.
As I say, I sit here thinking I don't know what to say to make your situation, to help try to make your situation better, and I really wish I could. But I think that the thing that I've learned, that I think everybody listening to you will have learned, and in a sense it's summed up by this text from, no, it doesn't say, yes it does, Kevin. Listening to these desperate accounts of how people aren't coping makes me think that anyone who continues to vote Conservative in the next election is simply complicit with the indisputable spite and contempt that party shows for the country. That wasn't actually the text that I was looking for. It's here somewhere. This caller, this is from Ben. This caller makes me realise that actually, despite how bad it is, there is always someone worse off. There's, I'm sure, lots more out there.
One of the things I would say as well, because I've been through a divorce and the kids are with me just less than half the time. But it means that I don't get any child benefit, whereas ex-wife does. And she earns probably around $50,000 a year. And she gets the child benefit as well, and we share it. Whereas I think if couples separate, that child benefit should be shared equally among the parents.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a difficult situation, isn't it? Well, I mean, and again, I'm not going to pry into sort of the circumstances there, but I suppose that there's, and you don't want to be beholden to her, but obviously if she's on a pretty good income, I mean, obviously one would expect her to maybe take a bit more of the burden. He says, treading very carefully.
How can I put this? She went off with a millionaire, so there you go.
Yeah.
So she hasn't got to worry about that either.
Yeah.
But she just totally refuses and deliberately tries to make things as difficult as possible. So
you see, there's as I said, there's one or two horrible texts coming in, but there are some lovely texts coming in. Hussein says, "Can I pay for this man's driving lessons?"
Oh my God.
Dominic says, "Where does this guy live? I'll give him a car and a job. I'm in Oxfordshire, Berkshire or Surrey." Well, I'm afraid you're in Warwickshire, aren't you? So, I mean, there's some really lovely people out there. And I think...
Okay. What I did, I don't actually live in Warwickshire. I live somewhere else, but okay. I gave that. That's not my real name, okay, sorry.
Okay.
But, so it's a difficult... If I could pass my driving test, that would just make an amazing difference to my life, because then more opportunities.
Well,
to get some work, even if it's just a driving job,
I'm not
like
quite
that.
sure what the sort of rules on this are, but Hussein has offered to pay for your driving tests. If we're allowed to connect you, we will absolutely do that.
Please, that would be like life-changing.
Right. Well, when you pass your test, give us a call back, and I want to hear from you more.
I'd be delighted.
I promise you, if we are allowed to do that, which I think we can. Then we will. David?
please. That would be amazing.
It has been a pleasure to talk to you, but I kind of wish I hadn't had to talk to you, because I wish you hadn't been in that situation, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, but there must be so many other people in a similar situation. And that's what I've called not about myself, but literally said in the government policies, particularly at the moment in the leadership contest in the Conservative Party, they're talking about raising the tax threshold. Well, that isn't much use if you don't earn enough to pay tax.
No.
So that doesn't really help the people with the least amount of money.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
No, absolutely.
It's just those people at the bottom on universal credit seem to be totally forgotten about by the government, particularly in the leadership debates.
Well, it just hasn't figured, really, has it?
No. There's no policy to deal with it.
David, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep your calls coming, 0345 6060 973. I mean, he was so eloquent, wasn't he? Somebody in the most desperate of situations, not quite knowing where to go, and clearly seeing sort of when the credit card bills come in and the credit limit is reached, what do you do then? Are you feeling the pinch in that way as well? 0345 6060 973. It's 6:33.